Hi, welcome to Sky Notes. In this episode, we break down the astrology for the week of August 9th to the 15th. We have major planetary sign changes and an eclipse season is back. We have a lot to share about it, so please join us as we check our Sky Notes.
Hey everybody, welcome to Sky Notes. We're going to talk about the second week of August today. How are you doing, Tracy?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk about the second week in August. It's a big one. So we're talking the 9th to the 15th. So this is, I'm going to have a celebration on August the 9th, Sunday, as Mercury leaves Cancer and moves into I will tell you, and I'm going to tell you what time it happens so that you can celebrate too. So that's at 10:28 a.m. Mountain. That's going to be at 12:28 p.m. Eastern. So we can celebrate without getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Love it. And I'm going to say I have never been this happy to have Mercury go into Leo. Ever. Because Mercury in Leo can be a bit, when you're online or you're dealing with people, it can be a bit of a combative Mercury, maybe, if somebody's getting in the way of somebody else's Leoness, or somebody's maybe ego is what's coming out of their mouth instead of what they want to say. Things can get a bit louder, more dramatic in the way we express ourselves. And like we need any more down fire. But to have Mercury out of Cancer, I'm going to feel relief, even if it's only momentarily. Yeah.
I agree that our emotional capacity, I've tested this a lot. I don't hide, I'm an emotional person, but even me, I can't hold on to an emotion, if that makes sense. If I fuss around it, I can create a cycle that's not quite that emotion, but is critical of everything that just happened. But happiness, like I'll sit there and I'll go, okay, I'm happy forever now. And then, within seconds, some other thing comes up. It doesn't have to be negative. It's just not as, what is it? Calvin and Hobbes, I demand euphoria. So I love that because it's important to recognize after the retrograde that we spent that entire time speaking to every momentary emotion, which kind of solidifies it or can make it crystallize or be rigid, when it is just always changing, always. And I find the Leo, the boldness of a Leo, Mercury and Leo, a few folks I know with that. I love watching Leo's grandeur. You know what I mean? I just love it. So I'm looking forward to it too. And also I don't want to hear me talking about emotion anymore. Mercury and Cancer moving into Leo.
Yes, no kidding. Absolutely. Interesting that the very first conversation that it has is that it's going to square that Chiron that we were talking about in the last episode,
right?
With that really fixed energy.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's like there's a message of healing as soon as Mercury goes into Leo. So I kind of love that. Kind of love it. Speaking of Cancer and emotions, that day the moon moves into Cancer, though, just so that we're not, we don't want to go through detox too fast of all that Cancer energy.
It is so wild. Yeah. And I love a good Cancer moon. It makes me feel productive and stuff. Yeah. But to your point, I think, we've talked a lot about grounding and how much it's necessary to counter these really fluid, changeable things like water, like fire, like air. And so I do think it's good for a walk or even a chore or a playlist that makes you feel really centered in yourself. And I do have to say again, the emphasis on Venus being in both of the signs that it rules, to me says it's imperative for us to know what we want. And so it's a lovely thing that we get to do this right before the eclipse to touch into it, because that's what I think we're going to get to, is the information it's carrying is, of course, for us, for our next kind of journey.
Right. And to your point about the eclipses, the thing that's interesting about that first couple of days of the week is we'll have the moon in its own sign. We'll have Venus in its own sign. We'll have the sun in its own sign. And so when planets are in their own signs, they can do their thing easier.
Yes.
That's, they can express that thing that they do much more straightforwardly. And so we almost get this ability to live those things before it's time to let something go.
Wow.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah, I really like that. I really like the astrology of that. And so if you are somebody who would like to connect with those planets a little bit more and see how they're working in your chart, doing some kind of remediation around those 3 planets being in their own signs, it would be a good time to do that kind of thing. Especially like a planetary charity thing, because giving away during an eclipse is not a bad way to use that energy at all.
That's a good point. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So you could pick. I wouldn't pick the sun only because it's part of the eclipse.
Yeah.
Right. But if you wanted to do something to the moon in Cancer before the eclipse, or something to Venus at any point,
Right.
that would be a great time.
Yeah.
Great time to do it. For
I
sure.
love that. I love that.
I'm going to do, I did this last year as well. I did a cleaning and sent everything to women's shelters. And there's a really great organization here where I am, where it's central and they take care of sending it out to all of the shelters, so the shelters can stay protected and nobody knows where they are and that kind of thing. Yeah. And so, and they take almost anything households. So I'm going to do the same massive purge, and that's where I like to. So that to me is a very Venus in Libra and a moon in Cancer energy for sure. Highly recommend that kind of remediation. It's very satisfying. And we also, so Venus is talking to everybody now that she's in Libra, because she's going to trine Pluto on the Monday, and she's going to oppose Neptune that same day. So we've got, I love that idea of Venus in its own sign sitting across from Neptune and Aries in that objective. It's almost like the glamour, and not necessarily the good kind of glamour that Neptune can have. Venus is going to come on the other side and go, okay, I'm going to be judicial about this. Is that really beauty? Let's try this again. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's
really good.
Can be really fantastic. And then trine Pluto, with Pluto in Aquarius, with that air, it's like this really beautiful possibility to work collectively. I really love that. That's the day that I'm going to do a lot of the prep for the donation thing, is with that trine. I really like that.
That's beautiful. Yeah,
for sure. And then, and we have Mars trine the North Node on that Monday as well. So energetically, the August the 10th is, there's lots going on, lots going on for sure. Anything on the Tuesday that jumps out at you? What's the first thing that jumps out at you on that August the 11th?
Well, I do love the Mars slipping into Cancer.
That's the day.
Yeah.
Well, and because the next day of the eclipse, everything that we're about to talk about that's happening on the Tuesday is in that eclipse chart.
Exactly.
Yes. So this is the moment it gets set up, but yeah, it's all tied into that eclipse on the 12th.
And that's something.
Yeah, and Mercury is doing kind of the opposite of what Venus did. It's opposing Pluto and trine Neptune.
Yeah.
Interesting. Different.
Well, yeah, and I was trying to kind of come to this place where I could articulate. We were talking about Mercury being in Cancer, and even before when, the nodes were in Pisces and Virgo, and Neptune was in Pisces, and Mercury would be in Pisces, and sort of the implications of that. When I think of Neptune and Pisces, I do think about water pollution, or the kinds of pollution that penetrate or not penetrate, are inattentive of boundaries. And so it's interesting because we were talking before about the velvet glove over the steel wrist that is Venus in Libra. And then here we have, instead of the inspiration, the joy of Neptune, it is perhaps leftover poison from its time in Pisces, and trying to kind of figure out how to get that out. And or the Venus can be instructive towards the Neptune because it's got Quite a punch.
with the outer planets where they are, when the inner planets come in and make these beautiful aspects to them, the planets that are closer to us give us an outlet on how
Yeah.
to use that outer planet energy.
Well said.
And in this case, it's the positive aspects. So there's opportunity. With the opposition, there's an ability or and again, an opportunity to be able to see what it is we're supposed to be picking up from that planet being in that sign, and both in our communication with Mercury and then in our values with Venus.
Exactly.
The thing that I hadn't picked up on until right now is, so Mars goes into Cancer at 2:30 a.m. here, so
Mhm.
4:30 a.m. for you. And I was wondering if the moon was still in Cancer when it made
That's
that
what I was
transition.
wondering too.
It's not. The moon, or no, it is. So the Mars goes in at 2:30 a.m. or 4:30 a.m. The moon gets out of Cancer at 2:37 a.m.
Is it void of
7 minutes later.
Wow. Is it void of course while they're meeting? Probably.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But it kicks it off, right? I mean, that's what we
Yeah,
look for. The moon is a trigger. So we've
yeah,
got that. The Mars gets
yeah.
picked off by the moon.
Well, it almost felt like a handoff,
Yeah.
right? Like, okay, you're here now. I'm just gonna move on.
It definitely supports your notion of the water wanting to kind of like stick around long enough, maybe to give context. Like the moon's also memory,
I like it.
right?
I like it. Yeah,
And so it's literally like taking it from the Mercury and going to the Leo.
yeah.
I'm sorry, going to the
From the Cancer to
thank
Leo.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. So there's an interesting visual there and different progression. And Venus is trine Uranus that day as well. So that's
Mm.
another energy that we see in the eclipse chart, which I really like.
Yeah.
Now, the challenge with all of those positive aspects, though, or that really intense energy, is that the eclipse chart, when we get to it on the next day, it's a lot of astrological fire and air energy
Yeah.
that is it's easy. So it's going to be easy to fall into it. It's going to be easy to feel swept up in it. So that's something just to be aware of, that
It's a little
um,
seductive or sticky
yeah,
or
yeah,
alluring or
right. And
distract.
if you're feeling overwhelmed or
Mhm.
having a difficult time dealing with so much energy,
Mhm.
it'll be sort of hard, maybe a little bit more challenging to get
Got it.
grounded, to pull yourself out of that
Right.
whirlwind of fire and air,
And I feel like the Venus is really going to try to give us that. And so if we
Yeah.
can ask ourselves, what do we want, or what would be the next step we can take in order to create a more nourishing environment for ourselves? Yeah.
There we go. So it's a total eclipse, total solar eclipse
Right.
on the south node.
Right.
So south node eclipses are about release
Mm-hmm.
and letting go. And but other than that node, the sun and moon aren't really aspecting anything else. Very
Right.
wide trine to Saturn, and that's
That's
it.
right.
Yeah. So that's not bad in my opinion. That they're not making a huge connection to all the other planets. I think
Right.
that's likely going to be helpful collectively.
Right.
Now, if that's aspecting something in your birth chart, that'll be different, and then something personal might be worth paying attention to. Yeah.
That's right. It's
Yeah.
the difference between watching a film about archery and getting hit by an arrow. Your personal chart, whoops. A lot of this stuff is so broad. We're just kind of watching it.
Right. Right. And so it almost feels to me, though, because we've already spoken. So we've got, Venus up at the top there in Libra,
Yeah.
with almost an exact trine separating from Uranus.
Yep.
And then the trine, you've got a grand air trine with Pluto, a little
Right.
bit wide, but to me, that's, it's Pluto. That's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And then you've got the 0 degrees of Mars and Chiron.
Mm-hmm.
And none of those things are truly tied into that eclipse energy. So it's almost like the stuff that's happening with the other planets in the chart is what's happening in our life. There's just one area that eclipse is
I like that.
focus on, as opposed to dragging all of the planets and therefore all of the things
Yeah.
getting dragged into the eclipse chart. So that's nice.
Yeah.
I would only recommend to people that with that really intense air trine energy, that it would be really easy to get stuck in your head, really easy to overthink and
Yeah.
overanalyze, and
Yeah.
nervous systems potentially super wired. So
Yeah.
be aware of that, because the eclipse in general is going to heighten that nervous
Exactly.
air energy. So
Exactly.
yeah, the getting grounded and centered. I'm happy to see all that fixed energy. I
Oh,
think
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Same here. And I think
Yep.
we talked about this before. I went to Astrodiesians and they have an eclipse reading for people who want to see how it affects their personal chart. We're just recommending this just because let me know. I don't want to speak for you, but it's a Bernadette Brady backed product. And so you get the Saros cycle, the information about your personal chart and how to look at eclipses, similar to what we're talking about, how to leverage it versus being fearful. So that's over at astrodiesians.com. And I think it was $16.54 US. And then the other price was euros. And it was probably like 14 or something like that.
Sure.
So folks are interested.
Yeah. Well, and I do an eclipse survival PDF guide
Exactly.
every eclipse season, and I try to update it for the sign that's specific. So that'll be in the description all month for people
Perfect.
to be able to grab for sure.
Thank you.
And I try to make them so that they're actionable and not doom.
I love your forms. Oh my
Oh.
God. That's a great offering. Thank you for bringing that
Yeah,
up.
no problem. There's no point in being afraid
No.
or overly optimistic of any
Yeah.
of this, right? It's just about how to work with it. I have to tell you the funniest, there was I'm still like having a fight with this woman in my head.
Mhm.
On threads, she posted, it was like she addressed it to the whole astrology community. And she said, "Oh, be afraid, Mercury retrograde. Oh, eclipses. And she's like, all this, like, mocking the doom
Yeah.
and gloom astrology.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But then she said, I've had the same job for 17 years. I've lived in the same house. I've made absolutely no changes. My life is exactly the same. Astrology is that interpretation of astrology is bullshit. I'm like, just because you choose not to make any changes in your life or
Yeah.
do anything with the astrology that's happening around you
Yeah. Anything's
doesn't
permitted.
mean it's not eventful for other people. Like, but it speaks so much to that Chiron and Aries stuff that we're talking about.
That's what always happens is that the complaints come in marking each note of what we're talking about in terms of the transit.
I never make any changes in my life. Therefore, astrology is bullshit. The other thing that's been interesting to me is you and I've talked extensively about how wired people are going to feel and,
Yeah.
the grounding and all that. But
Yes.
what's so wild is how many people had said to me in the last few weeks, God, I haven't even been able to focus on reading your update.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
and so it's like even the advice isn't landing because people are so overstimulated that
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I usually do like a daily planner and I can tell when I'm over my limit when I stop doing it. And at least after Saturday, Sunday, and half of Monday, I didn't do anything. And I could feel it. I could feel so many ideas. But what I did do, which we've talked about too, is in these periods early on where we're getting seed ideas that will not grow for a while or that may not be gestationally, ready,
Right.
you write it down and you put it away because it'll
Yeah.
come back up. It's the inevitability of that process. So I think about that a lot. If I'm not doing my planning, am I still communicating the seeds that are dropping? And I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and we talked a lot about that whole collective inspiration when we were talking about the outer planets changing signs. And one of the things, this whole like writing the ideas down and the things that come to you, what I have found really fascinating is that there are times when the idea comes and then all of a sudden, because they've written it down, I remember.
Yes.
And then I start seeing other people having the same
Yes.
idea. And when that doesn't happen, I realize that's something I need to take action on.
Exactly. I love how you phrase that. I love that because, we're not so far away from when somebody tried to TM astrocartography.
Still
And
happening, isn't it?
I think so. And we are very much we're subject to the same influx of information. And so I love that clarification that it's yours when you don't see it popping up all over.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been really obvious since the outers have changed signs and we've started like actually documenting things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been really very interesting to watch.
I keep thinking of, my Mars and Leo project is to re-explore being a clown.
Oh,
and
fun.
I have started to see what is nostalgia of it, what was transformative for me. And then I don't think I'm there yet. There's so much nostalgia in that. And we were talking about the ability to live into something before you let it go. And so it's really interesting. I don't know if that will stick around or not. I'm totally for it. But if you look back, you're getting different information about it now. And so it's remarkable,
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 And I'm terrible for writing things like all over the place. I've got many notepads and I'll just like all of a sudden, or now I've started voice memoing. So, having another place to put things is stupid.
Yeah.
But anyways, and going back and they seem to reappear at the right time, which is really, really interesting to experience. I'm enjoying it and trying to remain an observer and not get too swept up and
same
kind of yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
In fact, so much healing is happening. I'll say that I have to remind myself to let that space continue to exist because I sort of experience difficulties as kind of like not enough storage. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So when they clear out, metaphorically, there's this empty space. And
yeah.
I've been terrible about, great, let's just elbow a bunch of crap into that space. But now I'm like, hold on a second. There's a message in that quiet too. What am I looking for here? What am I looking at?
One thing we didn't touch on in this video or in this, in the chart is the 0 degrees Mars and the 0 degrees Chiron.
Right.
Because that always, first of all, they're sextiles, so they're aspecting each other.
Mm-hmm.
And what struck me first was the quincunx from the ascendant and the part of fortune to Saturn, both being ruled by that Mars. So it was interesting to see there's some adjustment, some kind of discomfort around the Saturn and Mars issues in general, because Mars rules both of those things that we don't quite know yet because Mars is at 0 degrees, right?
And it's so tricky because that emotional thing, the way that I've experienced Aries experiencing emotion is, and I'm just bringing it up because the Cancer, so I'll come back to the actual delineation. It's just, I will feel this way forever. And then the next feeling comes, I will feel this way forever. And the next feeling comes, I will feel this way forever. And it's all very like explosive. So I wonder, how that will redirect. Like if they'll be
now, Mars in Cancer can be on its own so easily offended.
Right.
Yes. And like you say, like it's a big deal until the next thing comes along.
And the next big deal. Exactly. And then, but since the Saturn's retrograde, tell me what you think of this. You may need that, whatever it is, whatever jerky thing may come up, that may be just dirty, and clean it off. And it's your gem. You know what I mean? Because it's not a slam dunk that the Saturn would tell you to do what other people say with it retrograde. You're finding your own authenticity. And so what if it's a metabolizing or exercising something where you didn't feel like you could have a right to your voice that was impetuous, or that courage, or the places where it really stands out and makes an impression,
Right. Well, Saturn in Aries retrograde to me is about, one of the things it's about is where are you holding yourself back where you should be taking a risk?
Nice.
What restriction do you need to take off of yourself to take that risk that you need to take? And a part of fortune in Scorpio is there's some fortune, luck, there's some important thing in the muck that you shouldn't discount.
Wow. That's cool.
And so I love that idea of the thing being dirty and wash it off, because
Yeah.
that me speaks very much to that combination.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
then the difficulty, right, is
Mhm.
just how dirt obscures things.
Right. And so is it difficult, or have you just put it in a difficult pile and walked away? And
Ah,
yeah, I like that a lot.
yeah.
There's a lot of juice in this chart. There's a
Yeah.
lot of potency. And again, anybody who has stuff at 3, 4, 5 degrees
Mhm.
is not escaping the amount of transits that they're
Yeah.
getting to their chart, because we keep getting that combination baked into these longer cycle of charts.
Wild, right?
And
Because we're
so,
talking about, we didn't do this, and I'm not sure that we need to, but in the studies that I've done around eclipses, what ripens 6 months later.
okay.
And so looking back at the previous eclipse charts to see what has come out of it, I feel like we do that. And so I wouldn't necessarily feel like we need to do it again.
Right.
But it's interesting to me because what I would see, or what I would project 6 months out from this, is a lot of experimentation and a lot of trying and a lot of practice, I guess I would say. The Saros cycles are eclipse families.
Mhm.
And then the thing that Bernadette Brady says about that is you're seeing the trees that are in the forest. So you're
Right.
seeing absolute clarity of what's coming rather than just another forest.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You're right. There's different kinds of cycles, and there's ways of looking back at these eclipses to see the story that it's told in your life, right?
Right.
But I feel really strongly that I've never felt the eclipses until now, because I've never had one affect my chart until the one that's coming at the end of the month. And no, that's not true. I had one eclipse aspect my chart last year,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the first
Yeah.
ever. And this is the second time it's happening.
It's one of those things where I may end up going back and looking at the eclipses, even though I've understood them for quite a while, because I've had similar experiences what you're talking about, which is entirely reasonable. I'm a Sagittarius, so when the notes were there, ta-da, and then of course you got the Pisces and the Virgo, and so mine's been going, I would say it feels like 10 years of just one thing after another, one
Right.
explosion after another. So
when you hear about something that should be a big deal and it wasn't a big deal for you, well,
lucky
it likely
you.
wasn't transiting your chart. So
Right.
go celebrate, because you didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yes,
Yeah.
we're not all impacted the same way because we all have a different chart.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so the 126, which is this one, not the time, and that's the Saros cycle.
The Saros cycle.
And it suggests hope because it's coming from the solar new moon, solar eclipse is positive and something starting. Of course, we have a lot of different elements of the chart that are also starting. Everything at 03 to 05, 07,
right,
etc.
When you read Bernadette's book, The
Yeah.
Eagle and the Lark,
Yeah.
and she talks about the Saros cycles,
Yeah.
the description that she's come up with, from what I read and how I interpreted it, is she's getting those themes from the first time they happen and what is happening in those original charts. So even if it's 1,000 years ago,
Yeah.
the chart's being drawn, and it's you'll read through and it'll be this has a very strong Mercury square Uranus flavor, because that was happening in the very first chart,
Exactly.
and the energy gets carried. But paying attention to which node that an eclipse is happening close to is probably one of the most important things to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Because there's a big difference between North Node and South Node energy, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this one is, I love that hope is a theme.
Yes.
Given how Jupiter's been such a loud part of the astrology, with the Kazemi and the full moon and everything,
Yeah.
And so that I would agree that continues through this eclipse, particular eclipse chart as well, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So that is August 12th, the total solar eclipse at 11:36 a.m. or 1:36 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And as the moon is in Leo full on. Oh, that's interesting. It's void of course.
Yeah, it feels like
As
we
soon
get
as
kind of a
it
break
as soon as it
after,
separates. Yeah, it did that the last time it was
right?
new as
Yeah.
well. That's so funny. Um, which is not, see, last time that was upsetting
Right.
because it was such a beautiful new moon.
Right.
And then wah, wah.
Right.
We
You
can just
fall out
go,
of the nest, kind
yes,
of. Yeah.
yes. This time it's an eclipse. So we don't really
We're
want,
good.
we're not
We're
planting
good with it
seeds.
being done.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Huge finalizing energy in that. I
Right.
love it. Yeah. Yeah. Very good. And so that is on the 12th. And then the 13th, a nice little sextile with Mercury and Venus.
Very nice.
Yeah. Very gentle.
I always say that's good for writing or reading, word stuff, word pretty, you know?
I love that. Yes. Well, and that speaks really well into like, so the moon's going to go into Virgo for the weekend.
Nice.
Friday the 14th is there's, it's pretty
Mellow.
calm. But Mercury's going to join Jupiter on the Saturday. So
Yeah.
talk about pretty words and the ability to express and to get those things out. Don't you feel like with Mercury having been in Cancer for so long and being retrograde, being in Leo now conjunct Jupiter, it's going to be louder than it normally would be because it's just been
100%.
like, I need to be free.
100%. I would advise, and forgive me, I've got another little hot flash here. I would advise for you, those of you with friends who have early Leo birthdays, call them on that day.
Yeah.
Give
I
them a
like
call
that.
and
I
just
like
give
it.
them their flowers.
I love it. I think that's beautiful. And so that's some great energy for the weekend. Mercury conjunct Jupiter. You know,
Bombastic.
it could,
funny.
yes. That can be a foot and mouth thing.
Sure.
For sure.
But it can also be some of the best stories you'll ever hear. Could be funny.
It makes me laugh because you have that potential for bombastic and sticking your foot in your mouth. And then right after that, the moon goes into Libra. Now we're going to be diplomatic about it.
If it had stayed in Virgo, you just would have known that you put your foot in mouth.
It would just be like absolutely a fight of fucking semantics for 3 weeks. Oh my God, it would have been so bad.
Yeah.
But having the moon move into Libra right after is beautiful. It's like, I feel like some people are going to be doing damage control with whatever came out of their mouth.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I would get out all my greeting cards or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something where you're like, send all that energy out,
Yeah.
It's glorious generosity if you code it right.
Yeah. Go karaoke. Go do just like,
express yourself.
Yeah.
Put on something orange or a color you don't normally wear, but that you want to try.
Yeah.
Right?
A great day for writing.
Yeah.
Like to the point where maybe with all the other air stuff happening, too many ideas coming too fast, right?
Yeah.
Could be a thing that happens that day. Yep. But that's really positive energy.
Yeah.
We're not going to have a lot of energy maybe though, because the next day, Mars and Neptune, which starts the next week off,
right.
But it's going to be building over the weekend. So I think we need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Mars is going to square Neptune.
Mm-hmm.
And in my experience, that is almost always fatiguing.
I would agree.
Yeah. Neptune can really suck the energy out of Mars.
There's a running in jello.
Yes. Yes. Deep water. Absolutely. Yeah. I love that, running in jello. Yes. And so that can maybe get a little bit great to go along with the Mercury and Jupiter if you're going to be creative, right? Exactly. I think there's some beautiful creative energy on the weekend of the 15th and 16th for sure. Absolutely. But if you're feeling a little bit tired, let yourself daydream. It's going to be beautiful daydreaming weather, astrologically. So let it happen. And if you're feeling a little bit tired, that's okay. That's okay.
I think last week I said that we wouldn't want to party this weekend. And now I have to recant entirely. We won't want to party on Wednesday.
Right. No partying on Wednesday.
But the weekend will be fun. And
that's right.
It should be relaxing. Let yourself relax.
At the very least, it can be potentially extremely creative.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. All right. Well, thank you, Lillian.
Oh, thank you, Tracy. Let's do this again next week. What do you say?
Let's do it. Absolutely. All right.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
joining us, everybody.
Yep. Goodbye. Have a great week.